Welcome back to Visual Supercharge. Hello, Bart.
Oh, hi, David.
This session is about how to do things, how to use these tools to make representations, to express ourselves.
So we're going to show you what we do, the basic moves, and perhaps we'll touch on some more advanced ones.
Let's do that. And why don't we establish a relevant context, which is we'll show people how they might think about planning a project, right? Which is something that most people in business at some point are involved in doing. So a project, and how do we even embrace or adopt or begin to use DVL as an approach?
Mm-hmm. And we'll start from a blank page like the one you see now. And I guess the first thing that when adopting this skill is a decision, right?
Yeah. How are we even going to decide whether or not to adopt DVL?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big decision, right? Because in part it's different, but like any set of skills, and this is a combination, it's going to take some time and probably some money.
And what is the opposite, David?
Well, the opposite would be just doing what we've always done. Engage in meetings that are not always productive, having communication problems that seem to be quite redundant, and being less efficient than we really want to be, and less creative and less innovative. So we could stay the same, or we could try something new. I'd say remain in a state of limitation. And I won't even write down the word frustration, which is real.
All right. So I guess that's the first thing in planning our adoption of DVL, right? So let's just put it right here.
That's great. Yep.
That's going to be step number one. Okay.
And so one of those conditions for adoption of any new approach or system is that you have the tools to do it, right? That's very real. And tools or equipment require a decision, and require some spending, and require some time and consideration. So,
and this will impact how you're going to use DVL, because there's an important decision to make, right, David?
Yes. And I think that if it hasn't crossed everybody's mind, the decision we're talking about is what level of equipment and tools to use, and therefore to buy. So that is a big decision point for people.
You have basically two options. You can either try to use these skills and practices using regular computers, right?
Okay.
Or decide for a tablet. So, David, we suggest to people to choose tablets instead of computers. Tell me why. What is your motivation to go with a tablet?
Well, outside of the fact that the industry that's doing things creatively and visually it's almost a default. To me, if we look at the fundamental reason, it's that we're looking to leverage our natural speaking and expressive ability. And that means we want our hands and the pencil to be an extension of our hands and fingers and thinking. So this is drawing and hitting and tapping. This is the most natural thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's without restriction. The mouse and the pad and this translation of mouse, pad, keyboard, that's not natural.
Yes, this is the way, but I would suggest one more reason. You remember during our intro when we spoke about those steps toward proficiency? These here?
Of course, yes.
Well, with computers, you can be a consumer, you can be a user, but because of the interface, you cannot fully be a creator, I would say, without this tactile, without this touch input that we're using is just, it's not as immersive, and it's not the same way you can express yourself where you're having just a keyboard and a mouse or a trackpad. Right?
Absolutely true. It's
Yeah.
not, this is hands-on.
So I would suggest,
in the purest sense of the word, right?
so I'll take the user and I'll put it on this computer here. So think this creator, right? You can be a creator with a tablet. Okay. So that's the decision that you need to make.
Yes.
You'll be fine with your computer if you want to apply some of the skills and practices we're sharing, but it's going to put you more in a passive mode with just a regular computer, right?
I agree. And I want to say two more things about that. It's not just, it is more passive, to be sure. And what makes it more passive is that it's limited, right? This is immediate. This is your finger touching the screen. And we want to remove limitations. This is a fundamentally empowering approach, process, set of skills. So we don't want to add more, and the mouse isn't a natural thing for us, but picking up a pencil or a pen or a piece of charcoal to make a scratch, to make an impression, to make a mark, that is a natural gesture for us.
Well said. All right.
And I think anybody who's looking to do this and who's looking to spend the money and spend the time and make the investment and the commitment is taking a bold step and a great step. And I think that whatever courage or practicality is in that decision needs to be understood and appreciated.
And it's not obvious to people the way I see it, because tablets are understood as consumption devices, and yet we're using those in this creative capacity to be able to represent what we need to represent, to be immersed in this conversation, which eventually creates buy-in for people. When you meet someone on the board like this one, your expression on the board, when you do it like this, with these tools, is very authentic. It's your handwriting, it's your drawing, it's your doodle. So yeah, let's try to appreciate this possibility of you expressing yourself. Your humanity is visible on the board.
It really is more than a consumption device. It's so much more than a device that just enables us to see things or present things. It's really a bridge. It's a way for us to interact more visually, and the more visual we can make our thinking and our interaction, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah. All right. So what's the step number 3? Once you make your decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then obviously you need to set your system, right? Prepare your system.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I would say that, system is highly technical, and this can get highly technical.
Oh, we don't want that. Do something about it.
But I think that we're using the word system because we're acknowledging that there are a number of elements, right? There is the equipment element. There's the software element that, you also want to decide on which software you're going to use. Explain Everything is, of course, the one we're using.
Well, obviously, yes. Yeah. But also the board, your canvas is not the only part of your so-called system, because you might be mixing some tools together. So you have this mosaic of solutions that you put together in place to fit your needs, and your needs might differ than ours. What we do here when we're having this conversation is that we're using Explain Everything as a space for us to interact, but we sometimes exchange some texts or call each other. That is fine, right? We record some conversations using Zoom or recording and explain everything. So we mix all of those possibilities provided by the set of solutions we're using. And so will you, I guess.
Yeah, I love your use of the word mosaic earlier, because it's much more of a mosaic than it is a puzzle. A puzzle, says, maybe we are not 100% sure of what we're doing. But a mosaic is like a crafted arrangement of things that forms a bigger, larger picture. And that space that you're talking about is wonderful and empowering if you understand what all those parts of that space are.
Great. So I guess we're literally on the same page.
Quite. And therein is a nice little nugget of magic, because we often say, let's get on the same page, but we don't even have a page to get on. Here we do.
You mean people usually don't have a page, right? Because they're working off slides or text. Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's what I love about it.
Or from a different model in their mind.
But that's what I love about this way of working, is that we have this virtual page that we can return to. It exists under a code that is available for us together at any time. And there's always this place to return to.
Yeah, so I'm just going to list that attribute as a real and organic page. Once it's visual, then it has form to it, and we can interact with it, and it's shared. Thank you. I hope everybody noticed how fast you did that.
Most importantly, we do it together. So whatever you represent, I can improve or move around. And this is what we want to also demonstrate, how we're doing that. So let's agree that once you have your devices and software ready, there's this next step that you need to go through, which is building skills.